Alright, I'm back once again. This time I'm going to talk about Fnatic, which has just announced the final roster. It's a high character roster with only European guys. Consists of Soas rejoining Fnatic and Amazing. So two guys from Origin. As jungler, Caps, and kind of unknown midlaner, 17 years old guy from Denmark. Then we have Reckless doing his thing in the bot lane, alongside, very surprisingly, jesiz, who was chosen to re-enter the LCS for real this time, as a support, which he was doing his prime days, at least in my head, in prime days in SK Gaming before they got relegated, and he transferred off to America to try his luck as both an assistant but also as a player. I think it's an interesting composition. I like the fact that Nico Vepico is still the coach. I think he got some skills there. It's good that they still have Kwae of Finlay as team manager. That's really good. And I love that they have both Caps. They have Caps as the young Dane, like I am, joining the Fnatic roster alongside jesiz, who got tons of experience, who can probably help him a lot since he is new to the scene. Not he has played in the Challenger series, but on the big stage he's new. And Nico Vepico is also Danish, which helps a lot with getting the infrastructure right, alongside with Reckless. So kind of got a Scandinavian theme going, which it's easier to understand each other via culture. So that's not a wide gap as there per se is between a Korean mid laner. So I don't know how high Cap's skill level is. I don't know if it's let me just see what he's called. If it's like I don't know, I just completely forgot. Clyback. If it's like him, his skill ceiling is not that high, but needs time to develop. I don't know if it's that kind of case, or if it's just an immediate start, or maybe a struggling start. It could be everything, but I like the fact that they got routine on this roster to accompany through this. I'm kind of mixed in my mind with Soas and Amazing. I know they got some great synergy, and I like Amazing's playstyle a lot because he does something for the lane. He's active and trying to do something for the lanes, and the meta kind of fits him well, at least right now. The kind of problem I can see coming is that the bot lane is still a massive problem because they're not putting any pressure on the lanes. This means that Caps or Soas or Amazing has to pull off something, and Soas has to step up in this regular split. It won't work, this kind of thing. It could spiral out of control if Soas is not turning up, and if Amazing is not feeling right on the roster, because then there's way too much pressure on Caps to deliver, and he replaces Febiman, who kind of turned out to be a douchebag on the last edition of the roster, with not particularly helping out with Taylor's work in game and in the champion select. So I think it's good that they have cleared up some roster spots, but they need to have a fresh set of mind. They can't linger in the past about what happened and so on, and Soas especially. And it's not because I got a problem with Soas, but much of this season falls back on Nico Vepico if he can be a real coach, because I've heard several interviews with Soas at least not buying into a coach because he hasn't felt the presence of a real coach who helped him with more than the pick ban maybe, but all the other stuff as well, being a real coach who can go in and fix things internally in the team, which I thought Taylor did a great job with. tough luck with the teenagers, but that's it. But I like that they've turned back to European style. It would help their following as well in the European scene. I'm very, very sketchy about how it's going to, the dynamic in the team, because you got two so high, amazing, so, sorry, burp, as two so high, what's called, high energy guys, like amazing and so as, who's very vocal on the team. And that's going to help Fnatic, at least that they have a direction alongside jesiz. And then we have Caps and Reckless, and I don't know how Caps is going to work in an in-game situation with the communication, but at least Reckless, he can get some of the pressure off his back, because it was terrible last year. And I think the most important thing with this team, they need to set the tone from the start on. They can't start playing in all kind of weird ways where they're sacrificing lanes and I don't know what, where they're searching for an alibi. They don't know what their identity is. They need to set the tone from the start on. What is this team about? Even though it might help other teams figure them out, it will help them as well setting a foundation, and then they can build off from that foundation. If it's aggressive, if it's early game focused, if it's reliant on the top lane or the mid lane, or it could even be the late game, but I don't prefer that one. But our emphasis on the dragon control or the jungle control or vision control, which I didn't think Fnatic did a great job with, or if they want to focus on small skirmishes, I don't know what. So high pressure. It could be anything. Just set a tone from start on and don't just falter into oblivion like last season where the team was so insecure about themselves that they didn't know what to play, and the drafts were completely horrible, which anybody could see. But you need to have at least the guys figuring out that they need to work for each other and respect each other, and foremost play as a team. For Christ's sake, that was the main issue last year. I could care less about the drafts. If the team had played just a little tad better, it could have worked a lot better, and the confidence within the team would have been much better. I think this team, if it builds, this is a kind of rock or bust kind of composition of players. I can see, because it's so reliant on the routine from the guys, but they are so high character that they kind of need a hot start. They need something to go off from, because else this roster could self-destruct, because it got so many high character, and I'm sorry, I'm just keep rambling on about high character, but it's so true. And you need to have a clear identity. Who is the captain of this team? It has to be set in stone from the start on, and there has to be no debate about who is the captain of this team. It could be Reckless, it could be amazing, I don't care who it is. And you need to be able to fall back on him. He needs to take responsibility as well if the team doesn't function right, alongside with the other teammates. But there needs to be some kind of vocal guy, got that back, like Yellowstar. He had that back. You needed to have something that can be like a medium for the other players, a guy they can turn to in dire situations, where last year they couldn't turn to anybody because it seemed like nobody really cared for each other at the end and wanted the spring to end, or the summer split to end. And I think it's very, very sad to see Spirit leaving. I loved him as a jungler, but that's another thing for another time. But I like the potential of this team. I think there's decent potential. It depends heavily on how Caps is doing and if Reckless can turn up some pressure in the lane. And if Amazing fits this. I'm sure Soas can figure something out. He's a very talented laner. But I'm very unsure about Amazing, what kind of state he's in. And if he can find a solid jungle. You don't know about the patch yet, but I would imagine he would like something aggressive to dominate the lane, so non-tanky junglers would probably fit him well. and then the team needs to coordinate properly this season. And then I think they got a good chance of doing something. I'm not by no means saying that this roster for sure will win a split or something or do something internationally, but I think this is back to basics. No more Korean. Not that was necessarily a problem. It kind of set a weird vibe through the team, having all these kind of personalities. And I think, at least right now, they got two guys who know each other in Amazing and Soas really well. And then we got the three Scandinavians, and Amazing and Soas should know how to set a good locker room up. But Reckless and Caps and jesiz alongside Nico should be able to figure something out to make a good relationship. So the laners help each other. And I think it's so important that they start caring for each other. Even though they might care for each other last year, but you couldn't see it in game. And then they need to be able to sacrifice for each other, and they lacked that pretty much all last year. I hope you enjoyed this video and want to check out others on my channel. See you around.